I don't believe there is a perfect partner for each type, though there are plenty of articles on which personality type each type should go for. I have an ENFP mum who is amazing, so I can see that we work well together. I just personally think it makes more sense for me to have a thinker for a partner, as they have strengths in areas that I struggle in, and vice versa. We complement each other well. I wanted to share my experiences on having an ENTJ as a partner. So here are some pros and cons of my experience as an INFJ being with an ENTJ. The cons are mostly things that initially bothered me, but I now understand because I get his personality more. ENTJs are great at getting things done. They won't beat around the bush for ages, too worried about hurting people's feelings that nothing ever gets achieved. They are also great at pushing those of us who like to procrastinate, like me. If I tell my partner that I am thinking of doing something, he'll schedule a day to do it, or do what he can to make sure I can start it now. And seeing as I, probably like most INFJs, like to make sure I have every minute detail perfected in my head before I even consider taking that first step, sometimes a nudge to actually start is really helpful. ENTJs are often brilliant leaders. They are able to see people's strengths and weaknesses in a group, and organise them so that everyone plays to their strengths. This makes them a brilliant manager, but also a brilliant partner, because they are able to see your strengths and weaknesses, and they will tell you if they think someone else would be a better fit for something you are trying to do, or whether there is a better way to do something than the way you are doing it. They are great to go to when you need honest feedback about whether you are good at something or not. They don't like being idle, especially when it's a perfectly good day and there are lots of things that need doing. This can mean that they will be great at coming up with things to do on days off, but also will be more than happy to pop out and see friends, work extra hours, go to the shop if you need anything, etc., which is great as an INFJ, because it gives me a few extra moments to myself, which enables me to enjoy every moment that we do spend together. ENTJs have secondary NI, which means they need their alone time too. Not as much as INFJs, but they do enjoy going out alone for a bit, getting up earlier or going to bed later for a bit of quiet time. And they also understand and respect my need for alone time. In fact, if I say I need a bit of time, my partner will make that happen. He'll find someone to see, go and busy himself with something, or cook dinner so I can get a bit of time that I need. Further to this point about them having secondary NI, they are extremely deep once you get to know them. It is like there is a whole other person underneath that first layer that very few get to see. I feel honoured that I get to see this layer of my partner. I am so used to being around sensors who always complain that I'm too deep and don't seem to get me. It's a breath of fresh air to find someone who is like me. Even though he has Saviour TESE, so his NI is in a demon position, but more on that in another video. Having a judging function first makes ENTJs quicker at making decisions than INFJs, which can come in handy when something needs to be decided quickly and there isn't the time to weigh up each side to figure out the least problematic course of action. Being with my ENTJ partner has helped me to make smaller decisions quicker than I used to. I will still weigh up all the evidence on each side when I am making a big decision, but smaller ones are done more effectively because I understand ENTJ logic more. My partner is extremely loyal and has a lot of integrity. I haven't met many ENTJs, so I can't say for certain if it's always the case, but it makes sense with their type. They make a decision and stick with it. Messing around just makes no sense. So if they aren't happy in a relationship, they will just say so. And similarly, they mean what they say because lying just takes too much effort and can get complicated. If they don't like something, you will know about it. So if they say they like something, you can be sure that they mean it too. Because ENTJs have NI and SE in the middle, they're able to help INFJs see how their dominant NI can work well with their inferior SE, and can help them to balance it a bit more. I have learned to see my SE in a better light because of my partner, and he has really helped to bring out my fun-loving side, and to enjoy doing some things spontaneously, without having to plan everything first. They are very honest, even if it means they could potentially hurt your feelings. They won't sugarcoat things to such an extreme that you don't even realise what they are saying. This means you can be sure that when they say something good about you or what you do, they truly mean it. They don't only say things to make you feel good. There is always truth behind those words. Just a few cons that I struggled with initially in the relationship, until I got to know him better. INFJs are highly sensitive people, so being with a thinker-dominant partner can lead to feelings being hurt when you don't understand their motivation. As my partner is TE dominant, his primary focus is efficiency and logic. This means that he may say things that could hurt my feelings, because he is more focused on getting the point across in the most effective manner, and thus can come across as insensitive. But now that I understand his motivations behind why he says and does certain things, I don't take offence. ENTJs can struggle to figure out what you need. This is especially true in the beginning, before they know you well. They see a need, and they meet it with what they think is the most logical and efficient way of doing it. I'll use the example of alone time again. Early into the relationship, I'd mentioned I needed a bit of time to myself, and my partner automatically thought that meant he should leave the house, because that meant I would be alone. So he would do that every time I mentioned or even hinted at the idea of wanting alone time. It wasn't until I explained to him that I don't necessarily need to be by myself in the house. I just want some time where I don't have any other obligations, like cooking dinner, cleaning, going shopping, etc. That instead, what I needed was a bit of time to forget my responsibilities and lose myself in a good book, or play a game, or listen to music. Then he began to understand my needs better, and would offer to cook dinner, or move the shopping to another day. They may work loads. My partner will work every day he is free if he can, including weekends, which means sometimes I only get to spend a few hours each evening with him. He sees this as the most efficient way to have more money for us to go on holiday, or buy a new whatever, and sometimes it is nice, but when it goes on for months it can be hard. So just like the above point, I have had to tell him I need to spend more time with him. I understand he is earning lots of money for us, and I really appreciate it, but at the same time I miss him. Then we got into more of an equilibrium, where he still works lots, but he does make sure we have time dedicated to spending time together. I hope this was interesting, seeing the mix between an ENTJ and an INFJ in a relationship. Lots of articles I've read say it's not a good idea to be with a thinker if you are a highly sensitive person, because you will find them insensitive. But that is just a small part that is easy to look past once you know the person better. I think there are loads of positives, and I could never see myself with anyone else. I've only known I was an INFJ for about 6 months, and I typed my partner quite a bit later. So we had a few years together before I knew all that I do now, but I was still able to see how well we worked together in a team, playing to each other's strengths. It's just a lot easier now that I understand his motivations more. Thank you for your time.